Good morning and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing VAWA, program and federal law. Now before I get into what this is, I want to let the YouTube moderators know a few things about what I will be discussing. This is not a topic for people that are under 18. It may be considered a sensitive topic, however, it is a reality around this country, and so with all that being said, any attempt to impede or restrict the discussion of federal law or impede the ranking and visibility of this video will be referred to the U.S. Attorney General's Office and the American Civil Liberties Union for direct violations of federal law and First Amendment rights. So, this information is both federal law and it's something that should be available to all people as prescribed by the United States federal code and law, okay? So you need to take that in consideration if the video is being considered for moderation, or refer it to your attorneys, okay? Now, with all that being said, let's move on to what this actually is and how this will help people that are going through domestic violence. So the VAWA is Violence Against Women Act, and it's also the resources for multi-family assisted housing, okay? Now, look, the other thing I want to say is that this act has also been expanded to cover, men in other situations, because we live in modern times. We don't live in the 60s and 70s anymore, okay? Now, on March 7, 2013, the VAWA Reauthorization Act of 2013 was signed into law. The law significantly expanded the housing protections to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, and many other situations that could occur during some of the homeless programs that they also offer. Now, to complement the new law and provisions, HUD issued a final rule which took effect December 16, 2016. Now, I've got to tell you on a personal level, there was a point when I was growing up and my mother dated a gentleman and he drank a lot, and so I understand what domestic violence is. I know the impact, I know the effect, and I know firsthand from seeing the most severe situations happen. So I want to tell you, if you are a person that is affected or by domestic violence in your home, let me assure you a few things, okay? One, I am a consultant, and you're always welcome to hire me, or you can just simply watch the video and take a course of action that particular way, okay? But I can assure you one thing. Under federal law, there's a lot of things that are prescribed. One, the person doing this can be convicted under both state and federal laws. It doesn't matter if they own the home or if they're the primary lease owner. They can be ejected, okay? They can be permanently kicked out. And there are other things that can be done. So you can rest assured that in those situations, not only will they lose their home, you can liquidate their property, and you can there are other situations that would allow them to serve enough time on the state or federal level prison where they will never effectively be a problem again. So if you're going through these things, do not, for one moment, think that there's not a way to completely mute and terminate these people, okay? Especially for you men out there that cannot control yourself. This is not the 60s and the 70s when the police show up at the house and it becomes just a family matter that nobody cares about. In 2021, your life will get wrecked. And let me tell you, if a woman hires me, I can tell you that the actions that will proceed after that, you can rest assured your entire life will be liquidated, everything, if I'm involved in the process of getting you convicted. So it's a stern warning to those of you that like to participate in battery of women, children, and other things. I take that issue very seriously. If you're going through it, then you need to either contact me or any of the resources that I'm going to list in this video, okay? Now, besides that, in 2016, they expanded the laws, and you will definitely have both state, federal, and county protections. And I want to talk about a few of these things very lightly, okay? Under regulations apply to all multifamily assisted housing properties, including those with project-based Section 8202, 811, supportive housing for the elderly and people with disabilities. Let me tell you another thing about this, okay, folks? If a person is a senior or if they are disabled, then the impact for those of you that like to abuse both women, children, the elderly, and or disabled, the consequences are so severe that I can assure you that the only place you will be living is a 9 by 9 jail cell, okay, or a prison. So let me say that there are additional protections for people that are seniors, that are elderly, and also children, okay? Now, by federal law, I need to make you aware that for help and advice for escaping abusive relationships, the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-SAFE or 7233. And also, if you are deaf or hard of hearing, 1-800-787-3224. Now, another thing I would like to go and just say very quickly, HUD, Section 8, whatever you like to call it, affordable housing, low-income housing, whatever it may be. You are a number one priority to get housing. So you should never think to yourself, I'm in this situation and I can't get housing because it takes 10 years. You're absolutely wrong about that situation. In fact, there's a tremendous amount of funding. There is really exceptionally quick ways to get you housed, and you are a number one high category, the highest category there is when it comes to getting housing, okay? So we're not talking about years, we're talking about days and weeks and months. Effectively, your housing situation could be solved within a matter of hours or even days, and even in between then, the person, the offender, could also, that situation can be wrapped up very quickly as well. So, like I said, we're not living in archaic times anymore where you have religious extremists and all these other things that affect whether or not people are being battered or children, okay? Now, with that going on, I'm also going to be attaching a link. So all this information will be available in the video, in the description, and of course, I'm going to put it on my website. So you'll see here that you have federal protections after getting housing. So if you actually are already in any state or federally funded program, you should click on that link. You should read through that. I also want you to take a look at the complete federal law and code. Now, look, I understand that's a big read, and it's not for everybody. But I just want to tell you folks, man, if you don't think there's somebody out there that's going to fight for you don't think there's not a person that's not going to fight for you, you're incredibly wrong. If you don't think the laws will protect you, you're incredibly wrong. I think the sad situation really is a lot of people, women and children, have been through the situation in the past when things were more in a different time and age, okay? But I think what it is most of you have given up and you don't realize that the world has changed since then, okay? And so has the attitude of police and district attorneys, and they're willing to prosecute at a very severe level now. So I would encourage you to reconsider your position and to get out of that situation, because you have housing options, you have utility options, you have employment options. There's an army of people, both federally and state, that can help you through the situation. We're not talking about throwing you in a homeless shelter either, okay? We're talking about real options that are real fast. And then at the same time, the person that is doing the offending, that is injuring or hurting you or your children, will be effectively neutralized in such a severe way that they're unlikely to see sunlight for the next decade or possibly further, okay? So I just want to impress upon you and investigate in your own time when it's safe. For those of you women that are doing this at home, or if your children looking at this at home, I would advise you to always clear your browser and make sure that your search history has been cleared, because if the offender is in your home, obviously, you do not want them to know that you're looking into these issues, okay? Or and also make sure that you clear your history on your phone. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to give you definitions and purposes of determining whether a public housing applicant or tenant may be covered by VAWA with the following list of definitions that apply. Look, this is a summary. It's not definitive, which means it is not the end of the rule of law, okay? Any type of domestic violence, period, can get you in under the VAWA law. And also, if you're already in the public housing, these things can also help you. You do not have to go to a judge, a court, a DA, at the very least, maybe a police report. So you do not need a long process of getting all this initiated. And to be frank with you, you don't even need a police report, okay? You just need the insinuation that there is violence, domestic violence going on in the home. So I want you to understand, you don't have to tip your hand, call 911 and have the police in your front lawn to receive any of these benefits, okay? So you can do this quietly without putting you or your family at jeopardy. So I just want to reassure you that if you don't understand how all that works, get in contact with me, and then I will gladly help you go on a witch hunt if that's what needs to happen, okay? Okay, so if you have a current or former spouse or victim, so that speaks to both men and women, gay or straight, okay? A person with whom the victim shares a child in common, stepchildren, regular children, adopted children, person who is cohabitating, roommates, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it may be, or has cohabitated with the victim's spouse. A person similarly situated to a spouse of the victim under domestic violence or family violence laws or the jurisdiction granting and receiving monies. Any other person or against against an adult or youth victim which is protected from that person's act. So we're talking about teenagers and children. And VAWA describes dating violence as violence committed by a person. Please make note that it says person, not male, female, or transgender. If you are a human that lives on Earth, then this law is effective for you, okay? Now, beyond that, who has been in a social relationship? You could have been dating 10 minutes and something happened. It is effective, okay? All these policies are effective. It only takes one slap, one threat, and then it's on, okay? And then who's been in a social relationship or a romantic or intimate nature with a victim. 2, where the existence of such relationship shall be determined based on the consideration of the following factors: length of relationship, type of relationship, frequency and interaction between the persons involved in the relationship. VAWA defines sexual assault as any non-consensual sexual act prescribed by federal, tribal, state law, which includes the victim's lacking capacity of consent. Look, if you said no and it happened, that's all it takes, okay? No. Period. If you stick your hand out and you do that, that is, we're in VAWA at that point, okay? Now, we should talk about other scenarios. It doesn't need to be of a relationship nature or even a sexual nature. VAWA defines stalking as to the purpose and repeatedly committing acts with the intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate, and or another person under the surveillance with the intent to kill, injure, harass, and intimidate another person B, and in the course of, as a result of, such following pursuit, surveillance, or repeatedly committing acts to a person in a reasonable fear of death, serious bodily injury, or to cause substantial emotional harm to that person. So let me summarize, because this is kind of convoluted the way they wrote it, but if a person is doing surveillance, following you around, stalking you on the internet, leaving messages, leaving texts, leaving on grandma's old 1982 answering machine, if they're implying it through posts on Facebook and Twitter to their friends, all of that qualifies. It doesn't matter if it's a physical threat, a life threat, a death threat, if they actually commit the act on you and bring you near death. All of these things matter. It only needs to be implied. You don't have to actually be beaten up for this to be effective, okay? So it covers every possible scenario, and that's the only thing that matters in this situation. And this also is effective for those of you that are under the age of 18. But again, I warn you, the video is not prescribed for people under the age of 18. However, I cannot stop who watches the video. Okay, so Housing Authority location. Now, the purpose behind this is whenever you do get the resources you're going to get through the 800 numbers or through me and other resources, you can also look at find quickly the Housing Authority locations there. I should warn you that with VAWA, they work to pretty much package everything together and help you quickly and expeditiously get you out of the situation. So you don't really need to do a whole lot of homework. It does help if you have a consultant like me, because I'm able to not only just focus on your housing into this, we can focus on the liquidation of assets, getting them out of their house, whatever it takes illegally to get rid of these people and to neutralize them on a very permanent basis, okay? Also, I'm going to give you information about applying for HUD, which is another link, applying for COC housing, which also has DV or domestic violence housing, which is exceptionally fast, and information about applying at COC so you understand what it is and how that works out for you. So that covers everything that I wanted to say in this video. But I want to repeat to you, everybody out there, whether you're male or you're female, and you're going through any type of domestic violence, whether it has happened, implied, or this has been going on for decades. This is no longer the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 50s, okay? The rules of the game have changed, okay? These people can be seriously convicted of these things on both the state and federal level. You have a tremendous amount of protections, even besides this federal law and state law. And you do not have to tip your hand about all of these things, okay? You can do it while they do not know, and it's highly effective, okay? So I would have you reconsider your position. Let me tell you the outcome of what happens when you have a serial batterer in the house, okay? You'd go through a lot of what I went through with my stepbrother and stepsister, which was not nice, okay? And I've seen the ending result of that, because not only did it happen in our house, but it also happened in one of our neighbors' house. This woman is permanently deaf in both her ears, and there's permanent damage to both her face and her body from all the things that repeatedly happening over and over and over. I would encourage you to reconsider your position. Let me tell you something. Freedom and the key, they can get you out of the state. There's a lot of things out there for you. Please reconsider your situation. We're in a pandemic, and you're in a place where you don't have contacts to people. I understand that, and so why it's so important for your physical and mental health to just be prepared and ready, and then seek help if you need it. I've enjoyed making this video for the purposes of helping people that genuinely need it, and it does. So I'm going to end the video here. Thank you. Bye.